violence or no other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
How school officials handled it. Parents want to know why their daughter was punished when she was the target of the racist comments.
CBS 13's Marley Ginter is in Natomas with the video you'll see only on CBS 13. Marley?
Now, Tony and Elizabeth, tonight I talked with a young girl still crying and her parents angry and frustrated. I talked with school officials not denying what was said in the video is wrong and disturbing, but they say it doesn't tell the whole story.
Lanye Sellers and Joshua Moore visibly disturbed watching cell phone video of their 12-year-old daughter, Giselle.
Woo! Hey, and she can throw down. That girl can throw down. She's fighting a man or a teen boy. She's not, she ain't, she's holding her own. So this is a pretty masculine sister right here.
Standing here, like, my heart is racing and I just feel like emotional, like that she had to go through this. She go back. Ooh, that's gonna be racist. What?
Listen closely, and Giselle says the boy told her to go back to Africa, used racial slurs, and then there's a scuffle.
Ooh. So you see that dude, the boy, he was throwing them weak punches and she went and tackled him. She was giving him that work.
Coming up and putting his hands on her, all of it to me is just uncalled for.
Wow.
Clearly still shaken, Giselle won't even watch the video.
I was shocked.
That was my first time seeing it.
What do you think of it when you see this?
Oh, I mean, it's not good.
I showed the video to Natomas Unified School District spokesperson Deidre Powell.
Parents want to know that their kids are safe at school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And something like this would be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, I mean, she seemed like she not really pressed by this. She seems like the racial slurs didn't really trigger her. Like, usually we would see sisters, this is uncalled for. We need to do this and we need to do that. And there'd be protests and marches. But I don't know. Are we missing something?
I'm a parent, too, so I'm not exempt from that.
Powell paints a different picture, saying witnesses heard it all start with Giselle using homophobic slurs towards the boy.
Ah, so there we have it. This little black girl, she's using homophobic slurs against this, looks like, burrito teen, LGBT burrito teen, and he wasn't having it. So he, his first thought was to go to race, and that's what he knew would trigger her. Just like her LGBT comments, her maybe homophobic slurs triggered him. So it looks like both of them were in the fault. She started it, though, verbally, and then he put his hands on her first. But I find it funny how this young girl is trying to play the victim when she started the verbal altercation.
Either way, both of those would be taken seriously.
Oh,
right?
And the reason why this isn't a national story is because it's minority on minority, all right? This is a LGBT versus black, okay? And we know that the LGBT community loves to conflate their struggle with the black struggle. And, in today's day and age, their struggle is almost seen as more legitimate than ours because, there's a lot that goes into it. But they have a lot more power when it comes to getting things done politically, it seems, than the black community.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And physical violence is never an option, regardless of what is said or what is done.
Howell says the boy and Giselle face punishment for their involvement, something Giselle and her parents say wasn't.
And you see the teacher, the white teacher is trying to break it up. Guys, this is why these teachers don't want to teach anymore, because for one, they can barely handle the kids fighting each other. And Lord forbid that one of these kids try and put their hands on the teacher like we saw with the baseball coach. For one, if he strikes back, he's fired. He's considered a child abuser. And for two, a lot of these kids might have better hands than these teachers.
Handled properly, saying racism was never addressed or discussed. Instead, both students were disciplined and officials moved on.
Well, if you have to address the racism, then you have to address the homophobia. And that's what the reason why they suspended both of them. That's fair. That's fair. Why does she get this highlight reel on the news? Because she's black and she's playing the black female victim card. When she started off with that boy with the homophobic slurs, you knew that was going to get him tight. So he comes back at you with the black, you pick cotton, da-da-da-da, go back to Africa, all these things, and now you're playing the victim. This is typical sister girl female psychology 101.
It hurts, and you shouldn't just say stuff to people like that. Keep that to yourself at least.
Had you ever had a fight with this boy before?
No.
I don't even believe her when she say that. They probably been going back and forth.
No altercations, no, words thrown between the two of you?
No.
Cap. Look at her looking down, lying. She can't look at her mama in the face. She can't look at the newscaster in the face. She lying out her teeth.
Looking at it, there's no way that she should be suspended. If anything, are you okay? Let's sit down and talk about what happened. This is not okay.
Now, while this incident actually happened last Friday, school officials are only just now getting a look at that video. They are reviewing it, but there is no telling how or even if that will change anything.
This at 5:30. I'm Curtis May.
And I'm Adrienne Moore. Our news is also streaming live on CBS News Sacramento. CBS 13's Valina Jones is live in Sacramento tonight with much more on this disturbing pattern. Valina.
Yeah, that first racist incident happened right here at McClatchy High School last week. It's one of the latest schools to deal with a racist incident, and parents say they are frustrated and want to see action. Last week, racist graffiti was found above the drinking fountain here, one titled Colored and another titled White. And back in November, an assistant principal at West Campus High School was the target of racist graffiti as well near her parking spot, including the N-word. Parents say they are outraged at the string of racist events that have happened district-wide.
All right, so we've got racist spray paint over the water fountains, in parking spaces, all over the place. And a lot of these situations in the past few years have been exposed as being hoaxes, meaning it wasn't really a white supremacist who was, doing the graffitiing and committing these acts, which it happens a lot in this way. All right, we saw the bomb threats at the HBCUs. Turned out there wasn't any bombs, and we don't know who did it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a student from that school who maybe didn't want to take a test or something like that, right? We also see Jussie Smollett race baiting and his antics. We see this across the United States in this day and age, especially since everything is racially charged. So I would not be surprised if, and this is my guess, this could be a Hispanic person doing it or another black person. But I would be I would be very surprised if it was actually white kids doing it. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't a possibility, because it happens, and I want to keep it fair. But we've seen that a lot of these things are fake, and people, who wouldn't be the likely suspects of doing this end up actually being the suspect?
I feel like it's a multi-mission attack because this is Black History Month. So if you're bringing this type of history during a month that we're supposed to be celebrating, you're sending an attack on us. You're attacking us.
Now, Monday, the district says racist graffiti was found on the outside wall at Abraham Lincoln Elementary School in Rancho Cordova. The message there showing KKK and the N-word. School officials are working with police to investigate that matter. Now, the district says they are investigating all these incidents, but parents say that they want more action to be taken. Coming up at 10, we're talking to parents and faculty members who want to see more being done to address these issues.
Needs 3 new members. Voters approved the recall of the school board president and 2 other board members in a landslide vote last night. KTVU's Allie Rasmus joins us now with a look at the results and what happens next. Allie?
Well, Pam, the next step is for San Francisco Mayor London Breed to appoint 3 new members of the school board to replace the 3 people that voters overwhelmingly recalled. Here's a look at some of the vote totals. Voters approved the recall of school board member Allison Collins with nearly 79% voting yes, 21% voting no. The recall of now former school board president Gabriela López got 75% of the vote with 25% voting no. And voters also chose to recall board member Foga Maliga with 72% voting yes.
Woo! So all of these burrito school board members are getting recalled. I wonder why. Okay, obviously we know that they're probably pushing a very propagandist woke agenda, and that's why. But, you know, I'll let them tell you why they think there is a recall going on.
28% no. Now, this recall effort came from parents who were frustrated that San Francisco public schools were among the last in the state and in the country to reopen during the pandemic after more than 18 months of virtual learning. There's also financial problems, a controversy over renaming schools that also frustrated many San Francisco voters.
We're really gratified that we could channel that anger and frustration to something that is hopefully going to, lead to a positive outcome. So for the school district, and I think, that's what we feel good about.
All the allegations that were made towards, my credibility and my merits, they don't hold water.
Mayor London Breed said in a statement that San Francisco voters sent a clear message with this recall vote. And part of that statement reads, quote, "Our kids have suffered tremendously during this pandemic, dealing with serious learning loss and significant mental health challenges. It's time we refocus our efforts on the basics of providing quality education for all students," end quote. Now it's up to the mayor to appoint 3 new board members. She didn't give any indication about how soon or how quickly that will happen, but the school district also needs to find a new superintendent, as well as deal with its ongoing problems of declining enrollment and a budget deficit. So while supporters of the recall are glad about this victory, they know that there is a lot of work ahead. Live in the newsroom, Allie Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
I'm here on the corner of MLK and Frederick Douglass, where a shooting just took place. And as you can see, it's a pretty rough area. So I'm basically risking my life reporting on this madness. So make sure you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like the video, hell, share the video. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments section to continue the discussion on how we can find solutions to all this son violence in the streets. I'm Jenquavius Jackson, here live, reporting from Atlanta, Georgia, BGZM News 17. All right, guys, so it appears that the reason why the school board was recalled is because of white supremacists and racism. So let's get into this article. The progressive San Francisco school board president, who was stripped of her position in a recall vote this week, has dramatically claimed that those who ousted her are aligned with white supremacists. So if you fight for racial justice, this is the consequence. President Gabriela López tweeted Thursday. Don't be mistaken. White supremacists are enjoying this, and the support of the recall is aligned with this. So let me get this straight. The majority, almost 70 to 80% of people wanted you guys recalled, and you think it's because of racism? This is why you got recalled in the first place, because you are a race baiting school board district president, and you're more focused on restrictions as it regards to the pandemic and racism and white supremacy, rather than focusing on the education of the children that you're supposed to be caring for. All right. Now, I've looked into this. A lot of people wanted this recall because they're restricting the learning of these kids, going virtual, and teachers getting laid off because of mandates and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is the reason why. It's not because of racism. I mean, Shorty could pass as white. The only reason why she's not white to me is because of her name. Lopez and two other board members, Vice President Falga Moliga and Commissioner Allison Collins, were all voted out on Tuesday. Her tweet included a photo of Washington Post headline that said the three ousted board members were seen as too focused on racial justice. Okay. So this is her tweet. All right. This headline says it all. If you are not outraged, you're not paying attention. The board members were ousted in the wake of widespread backlash over CV, shutdowns, and a controversial plan to rename dozens of schools. So they were going to rename them after, probably go into Mexican history or Black history and try and find some monumental figures there. Parents started organizing to recall the three members in January 2021 after arguing the board was pushing progressive politics instead of acting in the best interests of children amid the pandemic. All right. So you can see her hat, Make America Indigenous Again. Obviously, it's a low budget hat because you can see the threading and the sewing, the attached letters, very low budget. But anyways, the recall effort came as the school board was trying to rename 44 schools that it said honored public figures linked to racism, sexism, and other injustices, including Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and trailblazing U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. Critics argued that the push made a mockery of the country's racial reckoning, and parents demanded to know why the board would waste time renaming schools when the priority needs to be reopening classrooms. The board eventually scrapped the plan after widespread uproar.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
I could be at work, in school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.